She can dance, she can sing.
Think about you ever again. Ever.
Five Nights at Freddy's has it all. A captivating story, a reasonable horror aspect, one of the most engaged fan bases on the planet, and people that work so hard on the games, movies, and everything in between to deliver the best content that they can create just for us. It's undeniable that this franchise, for a lot of us, has become something more than just a game series. It's something that we cherish dearly. Something that has become a part of our lifestyle more than just being an interest at this point.
That's really good.
But in order for that to happen, a piece of media has to have some sort of stronger significance to the viewer. It made them feel something nothing else can recreate. Builds an emotional bond, if you will. And clearly, that's exactly what FNaF always had to offer, which very much proved to have been rather successful. Perhaps through a much smaller amount of emotional moments in the games themselves, in contrast to some other franchises, but nonetheless, it delivered things that hooked us in from the very first moments that we got exposed to Five Nights at Freddy's, with no signs of letting go anytime soon. Most of the time, we are left with our own imagination to figure out what exactly happened to, for example, the dead kids, the employees, the ones that started it all, and anyone else that has been screwed over by, always to some extent, this man. But there have been many instances where we actually got full-on renditions of what Scott Cawthon exactly imagined these moments to look like, where he wanted to show us the specific way a situation played out, which automatically lets the viewer connect to the game on a more personal level, drawing us in even more, as by creating a somewhat realistic scenario with real-life voices and sounds activates more emotions.
But it's not going to fix what's wrong with me.
Becomes more relatable and naturally deepens the emotional bond that we already had for the theorizing and gameplay part of it before. It personifies the ideas in the story that we had already grasped. A big amount of FNaF's lore is told to us through minigames, written articles or notes, glitches, Easter eggs, and dialogue. From the first ever game, we were already introduced to the importance that details will hold throughout this entire franchise. Not only did we get the mangled screams emitted by the animatronics when you get jump scared, resembling the screams of the children during the murders, we were also introduced to the demise of the only voice that guided us in our first moments in the office, showing us the first instance of death that has actually been heard and not just hinted at. Before Phone Guys' death, we had only heard and read about the missing children's incident, only able to put together what has happened in this pizzeria in our heads. But eventually, we come to experience the first narrative shift within the gameplay itself. This death may not have been as impactful as similar future instances managed to be. After all, it was the first game, therefore we weren't exactly able to connect to Phone Guy that deeply yet. But also, it perhaps wasn't executed in the most emotion-evoking way in the first place, at least not as significantly as other moments in the next titles.
I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there, you know. Oh no.
Here are some of the most heart-wrenching and jaw-dropping moments in this Forsaken franchise, despite being somewhat simple in their delivery, yet still delivering a great emotional baggage. Let's start from the most important plot points in the series, featuring minigames, cutscenes, speeches, and anything in between. Bear in mind, more minor minigames and voice lines will be mentioned later, as there are many of those. These are just some of the most lore-heavy ones. Disclaimer! I am not a theorist, I am not including any sort of theory or lore-heavy talk in this video. I am simply focusing on the emotion-based part of the Five Nights at Freddy's video game series. Beep beep beep, T's and C's apply. Side effects may include crying, whatever else they say at those disclaimer things. FNaF 2 provided us with some of the most simple yet iconic minigames till this day. The Save Them minigame was one of the first depictions of the aftermath of the events which happened prior to our employment at Freddy's. It gave us an eerie and uncomfortable atmosphere which really added onto the emotional aspect of the situation, influencing our feelings despite it only being a simple analog-styled minigame. Seeing the bodies around the dead-looking pizzeria gives us an incredibly disturbing atmosphere. Give Gifts, Give Life gave us our first idea of how the souls came to haunt the animatronics. Again, adding on to the quote-unquote emotional baggage, as combined with the other minigames, it gets even more depressing. At the time of FNaF 2's release back in 2014, it posed the question of how exactly the puppet itself had come to life in the first place. And that's where Take Cake to the Children comes in. This minigame features the first version of how the child haunting the puppet came to die, which at this point we didn't yet know to have been Charlie, or that it was Henry's daughter. We didn't even know who the hell Henry was yet. The purple guy, who we now know to have been William Afton, then pulls up in front of the pizzeria, taking advantage of the situation and taking the child's life. The minigame then ends with the puppet's jump scare, hinting that the child that was just murdered was the one inside that exact animatronic in the game itself, letting us put more of the puzzle together. FNaF 3 also featured quite a few significant minigames. Follow Me is creepy, to say the least. While similar to Save Them, you have to follow Shadow Freddy multiple times, playing as the animatronics, only to get dismantled one by one by Purple Guy, which, through becoming very quick and abrupt after the whole walk cycle being rather slow, is really disturbing and can really catch you off guard the first few times. Eventually, you get to play as one of the spirits, finally being able to take revenge on the one behind the crimes. And this scene is rather satisfying, you know, given how he put all of these kids through hell. But it is also emotional, I guess? It's a really significant part of the story, so, you know, it's important, therefore emotional. The Happiest Day minigame is, by far, one of the most genuinely sad moments shown in these games. Out of all of them, at least in my opinion. Not only is the music so... I can't lie, the only word that I can think of to describe it is pretty. It's such an innocent and bittersweet sounding melody. It's just pretty. Here, we are seen to be a kid with a puppet mask, passing by other kids during what appears to be a birthday party, and as we reach the end of the room, we find the crying kid. If you complete the other minigames in FNaF 3, which are mentioned later on in this video, you get to find more children at the end of the room, all wearing the main 4 masks. Then, a cake appears. The crying child receives a mask, the souls disappear, including the puppet, and the balloons fly away, signifying freedom. FNaF 4! Now this is one of, if not the, most emotion-packed moment in Five Nights at Freddy's. The entire game features a back and forth between normal gameplay and the story of the crying child. And here we finally find out about one of the main and most important stories in the entire series, which is, till this very day, still one of the most depressing ones too. The child is not only bullied by his brother, manipulated by his father, tormented by nightmares, brutally killed, but then unable to rest. The party at which he died was for him, but he only managed to receive the cake in his afterlife, only able to rest after more suffering in the hell that his father created. All of his pain was his father's fault. The minigame sequence is then followed by a cutscene. Regret, apology, lies, a promise, and then a flatline. FNaF 5 features more of the Afton family's relationship issues, revealing yet another of Williams' children dying, which leads to the suffering of his eldest son too. Circus Baby's adventure, which, combined with Elizabeth's voice lines throughout the game,
I know it was an accident.
lets us see what a violent death she had suffered by the hands of, just like her brother, her father! What a surprise! Hey, at least Michael didn't die because of his father. Well, Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. The stories told by Candy Cadet are creepy and horrifying.
The man could only afford one coffin, so he stitched the 5 bodies together to make one, and buried the child.
They evoke some emotion, that's for sure. Midnight Motorist. Find a gap in the side of the road and you will be able to find juniors, aka lore. What this minigame mainly shows us though, is that the home life of this character that we play as is rather rough. Whoever it is, whether this is the Afton family is unclear, but either way, it shows us a strange scenario within the universe, with a kid that's been running away to that place again, which we can only assume to be Freddy's, or Junior's. Lore is hard. The fruit maze. Why do we have to bring dead pets into this too? Here, we see a child in the reflection of an arcade game. At first, it starts out normal, but the more you play it, the more messed up it gets. Eventually, the game is no longer beatable, and we see the reflection change to the child now visibly crying, and the fruits on the board being replaced by a pixelated version of the dead dog. Then we see the reflection of the yellow rabbit standing behind the child, deeming that the dog is not dead, telling her to follow him. And this following minigame is my favorite out of them all. This security puppet game. After 2 times of playing it with nothing happening, the 3rd time shows the child that the security puppet is meant to take care of right outside of the window, locked out, disappearing into the darkness. Before the puppet is able to get out of the box, it is too late, as we already know what happens next from the initial Take Cake to the Children minigame in FNaF 2. Once the puppet manages to leave the building, it starts to malfunction due to the rain, and with the remaining strength that it has, it crawls to the dead body discarded by the trash, laying down by the child's side, protecting one last time. And I can only hope that they do some sort of rendition of this in the next movie. It would be so cool. Finally, we get to the last major plot point to be featured for the old FNaF era. The most iconic of them all. The FNaF 6 ending. After Circus Baby, Elizabeth delivers her creepy dialogue, she gets cut off by Henry, who delivers the best speech in all of history. Man, I love this cutscene so incredibly much. It's not only amazingly written, but also delivered in such a simple yet impactful way. A clap and a half to the voice actor. Here, we finally see that the whole of FNaF 6 was a planned setup to free the souls of all the children trapped in these machines. Gathered, entrapped, burned, released. And, of course, William bound to eternal torment of all of the awful acts he has committed up until this point. The UCN. And now, the most iconic, and my favourite, part of this whole speech, Charlie's segment.
No one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours.
There's just something that means so much to me in Charlie's and the puppet's story. Anyway, here we witness a tragic familial reunion. A father mourning a daughter who was taken away from him by his closest companion. And as anticlimactic as it is, this isn't where I will leave off just yet. We must continue, and now it is time for, woo, the new era of FNaF, and of course, its own share of emotional moments. Let's start off with Help Wanted. While it was mainly a funny haha game only meant to entertain us, I couldn't help but find the pizza party ending rather feeling-evoking too. Amongst the other multiple endings in this title, this one was the most sinister and negative of them all. Evil had won, and I wonder where this was mirrored recently. Totally not hinting that Glitchtrap has always been the mimic in the first place. The Tape Girl ending is also rather satisfactory. It posed even more questions as well as lore, and revealed a new mystery which paved the way for the new story in the franchise. Love it or hate it, it was a really good build-up. Then, Security Breach came along, with its main emotion-packed contents being the Princess Quest minigames, which not only hint at more of the lore, but also unlock the 3-star ending, the most peaceful one of them all, featuring the iconic end card of Gregory, Vanessa, and Glamrock Freddy's head finally being free from Glitchtrap, arguably symbolizing the crying child, Michael, and Elizabeth in the form of something resembling a parallel scenario, on what seems like the hill with the only tree in between the two others containing graves of the previous children, marking the end of William's torment. Except, it's not. Unless... Help Wanted 2 features even more fun games, quickly becoming one of my favorite FNaF games shortly after its release. This game gave us 2 unique endings. The Cassie ending marks the start of a new vessel for corruption. After Vanessa has been freed, Glitchtrap, or Mixes, or the Mimic, or Bob the Builder, requires a new body to possess. Or whatever the evil plan may be. It initiates the new protagonist that the games will follow next, as well as signifying another tragic familial scenario within this franchise, as if we don't have enough of those already. Stop playing with my heart, as it is heavily theorized that we, the player, were Cassie's father, and in this ending, after being turned into a mask ball, we are forced to hand the Vanny mask to her own daughter, putting her in danger, unable to do anything about it. The other ending, after beating Princess Quest 4, provides us with another depiction of Glitchtrap after being destroyed. After giving up the mask to the old man, we are given a plush, which we then discard off, and Vanny is able to crush Glitchtrap, once and for all. Isn't that just so satisfying? Now, we move on to the best DLC in the entire franchise, Ruin! And this entire game was just a masterpiece. Main emotional point? Again, the endings. After the main plot twist of the game being revealed, of the Mimic pretending to be Gregory this whole time, we are met with multiple outcomes. The normal ending features Cassie escaping the Mimic, only to then be dropped down the elevator by what we assume to be the real Gregory. Unless it's the Mimic yet again. It's confusing. Another interesting ending in this game is this secret ending. Cassie goes into a strangely lit branch of the cave, putting on her mask, only to be comforted by Helpy, who we could theorize to be someone like Mix's Fiona, trying to ease her death a little, as we can only imagine that followed by this, the Mimic manages to catch up. I never imagined an ending like this to exist within this franchise. Something so bittersweet in a completely different way than anything has been before. Something so vulnerable and pure, intimate, if you will. And also, this Cooper ending. Confusing to say the least, but it's interesting. And last, but definitely not least, Secret of the Mimic. We get many important moments from this game, which all features some form of emotion. Dare I say, this is one of the most emotion-packed games so far, as it not only features a more closely explored and therefore more relatable family relationship, a not so healthy one at that, but also a work-life balance issue, neglect, betrayal, and in a way, self-destruction. Death by own creation. But unlike Williams, this one was not ill-willed. It was wrongly executed, at worst. Edwin is one of the most tragic characters introduced to us so far, and it didn't take much for me to connect to this story due to that exact reason. The secret ending here is also heart-wrenching. This machine, built to assist, made to destroy, taken on the role of a child that never got the proper attention of his father, that was deprived of his mother, robbed of his life. Despite this being non-canon, it's still such a well-written ending. It may be strange, it may be leaning more into sci-fi than paranormal, but heck is it good. And now let's explore more of the minigames that are also gruesome. Lightning round! Go, go, go! This minigame has 3 stages, 2 normal ones, and 1 with purple guy. Yay, that always goes well. BB's air adventure is also a disturbing one. Through ignoring the exit door and falling out of bounds, we find ourselves in a grey area with crying balloon boys and a huge tree. Through continuing, we managed to collect the last balloon to complete the game. What's the emotional baggage on this one? The crying, I guess. Mangle's quest. Once all parts are collected, door gets ignored once again. We're met with a red atmosphere with a silhouette of the puppet. Crying. Significance? No clue. Creepiness? Yes. Chica's party. Glitch. Wow. Stage 01. Who even found this out? Alternate dimension. Ignore the door. That isn't even supposed to be there. Then learn to fly. Stage 01. 2.0. Just find the figure. More glitches. Boom! Now you can get the good ending, which, guess what? Also features, you guessed it, emotions! It's literally setting the souls of the dead kids free. Is it canon? No. Well, not entirely. I'm not doing theories here!
Be sure you are dead.
Old man consequences. Listen to some incredibly wise words, then drown in the lake. But hey, speed up the audio in the background. Most disturbing shit ever. Leave the demon to his demons. Right. And there is not really many other emotion-heavy minigames in the new FNaF games other than the ones I mentioned earlier. But Balloon World exists. A Flappy Bird-styled game featuring Balloon Boy, Sun, Moon, and eventually Eclipse. After playing for a while, the game starts to glitch out here and there, and eventually Hellspawn. And good night, I guess. And Five Nights at Freddy's also features quite a few voice lines that also hold their own fair share of significance, and therefore, emotions. Super lightning round.
The place is closed down, at least for a while.
Finally, someone is concerned about what the hell is happening at these establishments.
Voices off, you say? Well, now you really pissed me off!
We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest. I will never let you rest.
And of course, we can't forget some of the voice lines from the newer FNaF games too.
He said he would always be watching. He could be here, or there, or anywhere in between.
I just feel bad for her, man.
Please, just leave me alone.
I feel bad for him too.
I'm so sorry, Roxy.
Okay, I feel bad for everyone.
I can barely keep my eyes open.
Lay thee down now and rest. May thy slumber be blessed.
This guy is terrifying, but I love that they gave him some sort of origin with this, which is most likely also depressing. This is most likely a dead man. Oh, Jesus.
You've become the heart of this company, and I want to share it with you.
At least one sweet thing in this franchise. I sure hope this won't go badly. Brother! Five Nights at Freddy's may not be as forward with clear implications, lore drops, or emotional events as other franchises may be. But the subtle instances where we got some sort of tellings of how situations played out through minigames and environmental storytelling is very much still enough to evoke sadness and disturbance in the audience. This way of revealing emotional moments perhaps achieves an effect that no other technique could result in. Leaving most of the terrible scenarios to our own interpretation engages us more and forces us to dwell on these horrible thoughts. Perhaps it won't make us burst out crying like some shows and games manage to do. Or maybe it just hasn't managed to do so yet. The games are heading towards a more storytelling focused approach now, so who knows. But it is certainly enough to keep us attached to the story, still yearning for more. Although I did tear up at the mini-XE ending a tiny bit, and also the flatline the first time I heard it. And also the living tombstone being featured in the credits of the first movie. But those were happy tears. The child in me was really happy. Either way, the effect that these games and their lore have on us, the audience, is unrecreatable. It's something only FNaF can achieve because of how uniquely it delivers the story to us, both in the old era and now in the new era. I don't think there will ever be anything else that engages me this much into looking at the smallest of details in every new release or teaser. Or that will ever get me to investigate into the murders of children. Maybe Poppy Playtime, but not to this extent. Nothing can replace Five Nights at Freddy's. Ever. Anyway, thanks for not clicking away, you're the best, bye!